deep in the unforgiving heart of the Darien Gap, where Central America's jungles thrum with life and myths blur into reality, something terrifying unfolded that even seasoned soldiers hesitate to whisper about. This story comes from a military detachment that stepped into terrain so hostile and remote, its isolation alone could drive a person mad. By the end of this, you'll understand why the deeper parts of this jungle are marked not just by natural barriers, but by warnings painted in fear. Welcome to the Nightside Archive, where we delve into the stories that hide in the shadows. Today's tale is titled The Footsteps in the Forbidden Jungle. In 1993, a joint military operation was assembled between Colombian and Panamanian forces. Their directive: conduct reconnaissance in a stretch of the Darien Gap, notorious not just for its smuggling routes, but for the countless lives it has claimed. This was no mission for rookies. The Darien is an impenetrable labyrinth of dense vegetation, prowling predators, and weeks of suffocating heat and humidity. But the soldiers weren't afraid of nature. They believed their training and weapons were protection enough. What they didn't anticipate was something beyond comprehension. The operation was covert, and their base camp was a rudimentary setup deep within the jungle. From night one, strange things began to happen. Private Gabriel, one of the younger soldiers, reported hearing faint footsteps outside the camp perimeter. At first, it was chalked up to a rogue animal, but the frequency and rhythm of the sound suggested otherwise: two-legged, deliberate, but impossibly light. The commanding officer, Captain Ruiz, dismissed it. In isolated and stressful environments, he argued, the mind often plays tricks. He wasn't entirely wrong. Prolonged exposure to the jungle's chaos can manipulate your senses, refracting every sound into something sinister. But this wasn't one man's imagination running wild. By the third night, multiple soldiers had the same complaint: footsteps that stopped inches from their tents, yet their perimeter alarms, carefully placed tripwires and motion detectors, never registered movement. At breakfast, tension rippled through the team. Hardened soldiers avoided meeting each other's eyes, as if acknowledging the fear would make it spread. Captain Ruiz demanded focus, urging them to disregard what he called phantoms of the mind. But some noted even his demeanor had shifted. He, too, was listening just a little too intently to the nighttime sounds. That evening, Private Diaz and Corporal Silva were assigned sentry duty. Perched on a natural ridge overlooking the camp, they held one of the safest positions in the entire area. Or so they thought. Around 2 a.m., Diaz swore he saw a figure dart between trees, pale and humanoid, but unnervingly elongated. Silva told him he'd probably glimpsed a monkey or some other wildlife, but just as his words left his mouth, both heard it: deliberate, crunching steps on the jungle floor below them. Diaz raised his weapon, whispering through clenched teeth as he scanned the underbrush. Then it happened. A blood-curdling screech erupted, followed by a flurry of footsteps, a chaotic stampede that didn't align with the movement of any known animal. The noise grew, and then stopped all at once. Not a whisper to follow. The jungle had swallowed the sound whole. Silva radioed the captain, their voices tight with tension, but Ruiz's response was cryptic: "Hold your positions. Do not engage. Do not pursue." The next morning, Diaz and Silva pressed Ruiz. What exactly did he expect them to do if something was stalking them? Ruiz hesitated, his usual commanding presence dimmed. You don't break the rhythm of the jungle. You don't chase what doesn't want to be caught. He didn't elaborate further, but his cryptic warning left Diaz especially unnerved. The sightings intensified. Tracks appeared in the soft mud, long, narrow footprints that seemed almost human, but with an unnatural gait. Some noticed strange carvings etched into tree bark, symbols that looked ancient, tribal perhaps. But the local guides they consulted insisted no native tribes lived in that patch of jungle. None. These guides only reinforced one suggestion: leave while they still could. But deserting the mission was not an option. Then came the seventh night, etched in every surviving soldier's memory. The team, barring sentries, slept uneasily when a noise woke them. Footsteps, louder than ever, circling the camp. The motion detectors blared. Something had breached their perimeter this time. The soldiers scrambled, weapons drawn, searching for the intruder. In the suffocating darkness, chaos erupted. One soldier aimed his flashlight and caught a fleeting glimpse of it, a gangly figure with skin stretched tightly over its skeletal frame, its head unnaturally tilted. No discernible eyes, just deeply hollow sockets. And yet, it moved with frightening precision, as if it knew the jungle as well as any predator. Before anyone could react, the figure vanished into the undergrowth like smoke sucked into the void. They unloaded bullets where it had stood, but they hit nothing but air. The jungle erupted in unnatural activity, twigs snapping, strange wails, the sensation that more than one thing was out there closing in. The commander ordered his men to fall back to a safer clearing. They ran, abandoning their gear, moving as quickly as they could through a landscape that felt larger and darker with every step. By the time they reached a clearing at sunrise, they were missing 3 men. A rescue team was mounted days later, but found no bodies, only more of those elongated footprints and claw marks carved into trees high above their reach, far too high for any known animal to graze naturally. The soldiers who made it out remained tight-lipped, but one journal recovered from the abandoned base described the oppressive aura of the jungle, as though something ancient, powerful, and incomprehensible had awoken to their presence. Whether it was a creature, a spirit, or some strange phenomenon, no answers came. The Darien Gap remains a no-man's land, avoided not just for its natural dangers, but for stories like this. Stories dismissed as hallucinations, paranoia, or truths too unsettling to accept. If you ever find yourself tempted to push past the warnings into forbidden terrain, consider this story not just a cautionary tale, but an omen. Some places aren't hostile by nature, they're hostile by design, and they don't want you there. This is the Nightside Archive. Stay safe and stay in the light.